here before, by the way? All right. Good number of you. For those of you who have not been here before, I want to welcome you to the National Museum of Mexican Art. Today we're going to be taking a tour of this exhibit right behind me. It's Anarchishan, which is our 2012 Day of the Dead exhibit. So this first section of the exhibit is going to focus on the Yucatan Peninsula and the state of Mérida, to be specific, and about how they celebrate the Day of the Dead, right? And it is the celebration called Anarchishan. So you might see things that you haven't seen before when you talk about the Day of the Dead. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to raise your hand. I do encourage you guys to tell me differences, similarities that you might notice between these celebration rituals and others that you might have seen before. All right, and as we go along as well, bring up stuff that you might notice that's similar or different. All right. In terms of gallery rules, I know somebody was asking about photography, I believe, a second ago. You are allowed to take all the pictures you want inside this gallery, just no flash. So non-flash photography is allowed. There's no touching of the artwork, no touching of the walls, basic stuff like that, all right? So anybody have any questions right now before we start?
No questions, no questions.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to have you guys follow me. As soon as you go inside, I'm going to have you guys make a left, and we're going to be starting up with a small panel that's on the wall. All right? So go ahead and follow me. Watch the door.
Con cuidado, el puerta. All right. I'll be the translator. I'll be the. Con cuidado, el puerta. All right. All right. All right, we're going inside the Museo de Mexico in Pilsen, Chicago. You know what I'm saying? All right, man, let's go in. Oh, wow.
So this is the entire group, right? Okay.
So our group, this is the entire group.
How many?
45.
45. And the other one's going in at 15.
Sí.
Oh, wow, look at that.
All right, so does anybody here know a little bit of Spanish?
Some.
Oh, sí, claro que sí. Órale.
Anybody know how to read some Spanish?
No.
Yeah? You know how to read some Spanish? Can you read this whole thing to us?
The whole thing?
Yes, Mom. Go, Mom. Mom. Mom.
I'm joking, right? These two texts that you see here on the wall, it explains a little bit about the Day of the Dead and Anarchishan. But what I want you guys to focus is, sorry, look at this last sentence, right? What does it say? From region to region and town to town, these traditions vary as they adapt to local customs and surroundings, right? So, I do want to start up with that just because we want to keep in mind that the Day of the Dead is not the same everywhere, right? It's different, it's completely different from town to town in Mexico and including here in the US. From city to city, different cities celebrate it differently, right? Now, a lot of the beliefs of the Day of the Dead are rooted in Aztec ideologies, but also Mayan. And that's because obviously, right, these two groups of people were indigenous to Mexico, which is where their celebration kind of spurred. So we're going to take a look at this image here, and I'm going to start by asking you guys what this kind of reminds you of. If you've seen this anywhere else, something that resembles something like this anywhere outside the museum? Yes, a calendar, right? Anybody else?
Tree of life.
Tree of life, right? You have the image of the tree right here. But take a look down here, right? What are these two words? Mayan cosmology, right? Cosmología Maya.
Oh, wow.
This is actually a Mayan cosmology map, where the Mayans created this type of an image. And you see how everything's kind of interconnected, right? Everything branches out into everything else. And there's a central image of this tree there. Has anybody ever seen the ceiba tree? Right? It's a gigantic tree, typically found in the Yucatan. And the Mayans actually, they wanted to show, through this map, they wanted to show you guys, right, not just us, but everybody, they wanted to show how the universe was perceived by them, right, by their people. So they divided the universe into 3 different levels, the top level being the heavens, the middle level being earth, and the bottom level being the underworld. So they really believe that as a human and as a spirit in the afterlife, we lived in one of these levels, right? We always lived in one of these levels. So then they used the image of the ceiba tree, and they also divided that into 3-level structure, where the branches represented the heavens, the roots that actually come up out of the ground represent the underworld, right? And they're very symbolic as to how the spirits of the disease, they come back to earth as well, right? And then the trunk in the middle, what would the trunk represent? Earth, right, exactly. So each one coincides with one of these levels of the universe. All right, now when you look at a typical ofrenda, You might see it very traditionally divided into a 3-level structure, and again, each one of those levels coincides with one of these universal parallels. Does that make sense? Is that pretty much clear? Does anybody have any questions about this? Yes.
Yes. Stars, does this also relate to like the stars and the pattern of the
Yes. Well, it was about the universe, right? And then they really kind of revolved their whole calendar around constellations. So it does have something to do with the cosmology, right? We obviously see some signs about cosmology, right? The sun. A lot of these are deities that they were represented by some of the star constellations. So we do have some of that like astronomical, astrological. Does anybody have any other questions?
Oh, no, don't touch!
That just signifies a cat. So that's a cat today. Good point, good question. Alright, what I want you guys to do now is take a look right here on the sides. Kind of take a closer look at these photographs here. Again, we're talking about the Yucatan, right? So you want to kind of compare and contrast what you see in these photographs to what we're going to look at and talk about next in this Ofrenda Festival. So I'm going to let you guys do that for just a couple of seconds, and then we're going to move